As Brian Flakes' high school career came to an end, he began debating which college should take over his services at the next level. He had offers from really every single school, multiple SEC teams like LSU and Alabama, a big ACC school like Florida State, and even some smaller schools like Tulane or UTSA. But this decision was not going to be easy, and Flakes needed every bit of enticing to finally come to a conclusion on which college he wanted to continue to play for. He made the University of Texas, taking him out to one of the best steakhouses in the entire state. Alabama lost some recruiting points when they brought him to this mid-steakhouse in Tuscaloosa. And surprisingly, it was UTSA, the Roadrunners, that brought Brian Flakes to the #1 ranked steakhouse in the entire nation. But as Flakes tasted the finest New York strip on the market, the decision became fairly easy for him. You combine the fact that he would start off as a third stringer at every single school that he would choose, and the steak dinner just made that much more of a difference. So he did the unthinkable. He decided to sign with the UTSA Roadrunners. And from the jump, things were a little bit weird as they didn't even have a normal jersey number for the 5-star recruit. But Flakes decided on number 25 and joined UTSA as a 63 overall true freshman and third on the depth chart. And the only way that he was going to earn the trust of the coach was through practice. Things would actually start off pretty strong for Flakes, but he would quickly realize that this was not going to be a super easy task to climb the depth chart. And after his first week of practice, coach still viewed him as the third string quarterback. But after making a handful of upgrades to the overall throw power and strength, it was time for UTSA to play their first game of the season against the New Mexico Lobos. And while this game started off pretty low scoring, come the end of the fourth quarter, we didn't really have a chance, losing 21-10 in our first game of the season. But it did not bother Flakes that much because he didn't even have a single snap on the field. But he went right back to practice, trying to push the second string quarterback for the backup quarterback position. And again, things would start off pretty strong for Flakes in this practice session, but things would cool down, and once again, he would be unable to push the second string quarterback. So week number 2 rolled around against number 14 Oklahoma State, and the Roadrunners actually got off to a fairly fast start, 17-0, but Oklahoma State clawed back as they're still the 14th team in the country. And here with a minute and a half to go, the Cowboys have second and goal, and the quarterback Flores is going to run out and be tackled inside the 3. And I thought that they were about to take over the lead, but our defense made a huge play, and now it was time for our offense and our starting quarterback Harris to bring us down the field and get a game-winning field goal. And he actually did a fairly good job running on this play and picking up a first down. But for some reason, he did not want to spike the football or use our last timeout. He decided to go no huddle. And now with only 5 seconds to go, he's going to drop back. He's going to get some pressure and he's going to be sacked. And we would use our timeout, but it would be to run another play, not kick the field goal. He'd go to the end zone to be broken up, and we were headed to overtime. But luckily, we were able to somehow escape with the win. And although that win was cool, it didn't do too much for Flake since he didn't even get a snap in it. But coach was finally going to let him compete against the backup quarterback in McCown, and he actually had a chance to at least be the holder on some field goals. But after a couple of costly turnovers in the battle, he would once again fail to take over the second quarterback position. And we would enter week number 3 against the Arizona Wildcats still as the third string quarterback. And we would carry over the momentum from the previous week, taking down Oklahoma State and actually kind of blow out Arizona and winning that game. Flakes was once again given the opportunity to face off against McCown to take over the second quarterback position, but once again, due to some drops and some turnovers, he would not win the job. So now we headed into week number 4 against the UTEP Miners, and after coming off of back-to-back pretty good wins, I feel like we had a good chance to win this game, but we would end up losing 34-21, and I had to make sure to do some upgrades before facing off against McCown once again. And Flakes could tell that he was getting better with all of the upgrades he had made to his game, but he still came up a little bit short. All of this deep pass almost had him ready enough to take over the second quarterback position. But the Roadrunners entered yet another week, this time against Houston, and the magic that they had early in the season definitely weared out as UTSA was unable to really compete with Houston throughout the entire game and fell 38-10. And to make it a little bit easier, Flakes requested that they had practice in the indoor facility instead of continuing to train outside, and that actually did the trick. Flakes was actually dealing in practice, his receivers were holding onto the ball, and he was finally able to clinch the second quarterback position on the roster midway through the season, and his first ever action would come against the Marshall Thundering Herd on the road. And although he would not be able to throw a pass and actually impact this game a ton, he would at least be able to get on the field and at least hold the ball for some of these field goals. And if he at least didn't mess up, he would continue to gain the trust of his head coach. But after losing yet another game, Flakes knew that his time was going to be coming sooner rather than later. So after a few more attribute upgrades, it was time to begin pushing the starting quarterback for the quarterback 1 position. And after a string of losses, Flakes knew knew that the leash for Harris was getting shorter and shorter, and if he had a good enough practice, he was going to be able to challenge him for the starting position. And sure enough, after his starting job, coach said, "Flakes, you have a chance to take over this team starting next week." But before that, he would have to be the field goal holder for one more game against the Rice Owls. After a pair of touchdowns, the game was tied heading into the fourth quarter. But again, UTSA just came up a little bit short, and Flakes knew his opportunity was here. And he went into this battle with a little bit more confidence after taking off the second stringer just a couple weeks prior. And he got off to a fairly good start. A couple of dots in the middle of the field, rolling out here on his left and going to have a huge run to get even closer to overtaking the quarterback. Now some play action, spin out of the pocket, find McCoy, and he had officially done it. Flakes was now going to be the starting quarterback for the UTSA Roadrunners. And his first matchup was going to be against the UAB Blazers at home. In the first play of the game, coach wanted to make sure Flakes could just remain calm, not be overwhelmed. So he called a run for the running back Barnes, and he picked up 4 yards on the first play of the game. But Flakes' number would be called shortly after on a play action pass. And after being a little bit panicky in the pocket, he would throw it away and live to see another day. And on 3rd and 6, looking to complete his first pass ever, Flakes would throw a pick 6 to the cornerback Dempsey for UAB, and he would take it all the way back for 6. So Flakes' first ever completion was not going to be to a wide receiver. But if you watched episode 1, you know that Flakes comes back for a vengeance after turning the ball over. And after a beautiful out route to Carpenter, Flakes is going to get outside the pocket and use his wheels, pick up a beautiful block on the outside, and get the ball all the way inside the red zone. And a couple plays later, on 3rd and 5, coach would call his favorite route, the Texas route, to his running back and get his first career touchdown. But after UAB answered with a touchdown, it was once again up to Flakes to bring the team down the field and get another score. But after running the triple option and getting the team all the way back down to the red zone, he would find the tight end for an easy 11-yard touchdown. But they were still down by 2 points. They had to get a 2-point conversion, and they did. But the Blazer defense was doing a fairly good job holding down Flakes in his debut. And finally, towards the end of the third quarter, a huge completion here to Brown, who's going to take it all the way inside the 30 for a 46-yard completion. But after getting behind the sticks, coach wanted to make sure Flakes did not turn the ball over and called a draw play on 3rd and 13. And after our defense got a stop, Flakes knew that he had a chance to finally get the lead for his team. He's going to roll out here and pick up 10 yards on the ground. And a few plays later, he would make his best throw of the day between 2 defenders to Joshua Cephas for a 21-yard go-ahead touchdown. But just entering the fourth quarter, Flakes knew that this game was not over yet. And on this out route, Payne is going to jump the route and intercept it to start the fourth quarter. It was a devastating mistake. But coach told Flakes just to calm down, come back out, and lead the team right back down the field. And his very next pass on 2nd and 4, he would be late to the curl route, and Dempsey once again would intercept his pass and take it inside the red zone. UAB would tie up the game after that costly mistake, and coach said, "Hey, we're going to run the read option instead of letting you pass." He's going to pick up 2 yards on 2nd down. But Flakes felt a sense of urgency, trying to make up for his mistakes, and he's going to throw this out route, and Dempsey once again is going to undercut the route and intercept it and take it inside the 30. 3 straight interceptions from Brian Flakes would have UTSA now in a 3-point deficit after leading in the fourth quarter. But now with a minute to go, Flakes knew that he could still be the hero for this game and retain the starting position. After a couple of solid passes, there was only 24 seconds left until he would find his tight end and a huge completion in the middle of the field. And on 1st and goal with 19 seconds to go, instead of forcing the pass, he's going to dump it off to the running back here and get it inside the 5. And now the very next play, running double slants, which worked on the 2-point conversion, he's going to find Caleb Brown on a 4-yard touchdown to take the lead over UAB after struggling all fourth quarter long, throwing 3 straight interceptions. But in the end, it did not matter because the defense would hold on, and Brian Flakes would get his first career win in his first career start. And although it was not pretty, he still did have over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. But after all of his key mistakes, coach told him, "We cannot have those turnovers if you do want to be the long-term starting quarterback." And Flakes would understand that, but he would have to spend the rest of his freshman season continuing to gain the trust and belief of his teammates and coaches.